Also on the same theater program, it's Walt Disney's The Shaggy Dog.
Follow that dog. My son isn't any werewolf. He's just a big, baggy, stupid-looking shaggy dog.
See both Walt Disney comedy hits together. The Shaggy Dog and the absent...
Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your host of Zenrama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. And today, what is today? Tuesday. So we've got a black and white feature day, and we're going to go to a Disney movie, which has a little of everything in it. It's it's essentially a screwball comedy because it's a combination of a bunch of things. But before I get too much further into it, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and let me know what you think of the movie, especially this one. It just made me laugh when I was a kid, and it still made me laugh just a little less at this point in time. So now, on with the show. We open with some very fun stop-motion animated titles, and there's a dog in here too, but it really is a screwball comedy in 97 minutes. I didn't realize it was quite that long. We could have lost about 15 minutes and it would not have hurt it, but apparently it didn't hurt it. According to Wikipedia, it's 104 minutes, so I don't know exactly. I can't even imagine it was that long, but it was released March 19th, 1959, and was the second most popular movie, it grossed $12.3 million in U.S. and Canadian rentals, So it was the second highest, what was it? It says in here, filming reception. It was Disney's most financially successful film of the 50s, second highest grossing film of 1959. So it made a lot of money, $9 million in the U.S. And it's fun. I mean, it's got an engaging cast. The plot isn't difficult. It's set up for sight gags for the most part. See, directed by Charles Barton, who directed a lot of the Adventures of Spin and Marty, which I remember seeing when they put the Mickey Mouse Club back on, re-syndicated it in the 70s. We mostly wanted to see the cartoons, but it was okay. Anyway, let's see. It stars Tommy Kirk, who we've seen in Village of the Giants and something else. Fred McMurray as Wilson. Tommy Kirk as Wilbur Wilby Daniels. Fred McMurray as Wilson Daniels. Gene Hagen as Frida Daniels. And Annette Funicello's in there, as well as Kevin Cochran as Moochie. We've seen him as well. And Cecil Calloway, and we've also seen him. Cecil Calloway was in I Married a Witch. Let's see, Shaggy Dog, he was in, that is old Moochie here, Kevin Corcoran, Swiss Family Robinson. Oh, jeez, that's a long movie too. Pollyanna, Babes in Toyland. He was in Boy Blue, so we have reviewed that. He was in both Savage Sam. No, Savage Sam is the sequel. Oh, where is it? Old Yeller. Geez, Savage Sam was 6 years after that. That Sick Doggy Snuff film. There you go, Lilith, a Friends reference. So anyway, let's get on with the show here. There they are. There's the narrator, Paul Frees, says Wilson Daniels hates dogs because he's a retired mailman and he's still got bite marks all over him because dogs are mailmen. That's his wife there, Frida Daniels. So he's talking about, he's whining about that he saved a baby, that this German Shepherd, probably Rin Tin Tin himself. Meanwhile, in the basement, Wilby's about to blow up the house with a homemade rocket. And there is Moochie. It's Montgomery is his full name, but they call him Moochie for some reason. Moochie, he wants a dog really bad. So the house is shaken. And there it goes, right up there. Wilson is about to pour coffee on top of Wilby, but Frida stops him. She's a good mom. So he's up there covering the hole in the house. until I guess the workers can come do it. And he says, "Get rid of all your crap," all of his hobbies. What kind of dad does that? There's Annette, and apparently Wilby's best friend Buzz, played by Tim Considine, who would later be on My Three Sons with Fred McMurray. Fred McMurray was also the nutty professor, I believe, and the guy that invented Flubber and Son of Flubber, I think. We all know about Annette. So there's Wilby's stuntman falling into the. And look at Moochie's on that ladder. That wouldn't happen today. Suddenly, a new family moves in, and there she is. That's Roberta Shore as Francesca Andrasse. She's from France. She parlez-vous. It's like those French have a different word for everything. And that's when he says great suffering cats. I thought it was later in the movie. I've used that statement a long time. I've said it a lot because it got a big laugh, though, the last time I watched this in the 90s. I didn't remember any of this stuff at the beginning. I did remember her moving in. That's her dog, Chiffon, the Shaggy Dog, a Bratislavian sheepdog, but his real name is Sam, and he's an Old English sheepdog, who are big fluffs. Annette is not pleased. Annette is playing Allison. Allison is not happy about this because they're paying her. Mom's a snoop. I mean, the FBI doesn't. The cops don't even go to the FBI anymore. They just go and ask Frida. And then there's a dog, a giant dog. So, of course, his and the doctor tells him it's all psychosomatic. It's all in his head. He starts itching. Chiffon likes Wilby, and this is a slow burn she's doing. And they go over to meet him, and that's her adopted father, Dr. Michel Andrasse, played by Alexander Scourby. And there they go. So she's showing him around the house. Wilby almost breaks a priceless vase. And they're related to Borgas. We all know them, sort of. And they had a Bratislavian sheepdog, much like Chiffon. See? Chiffon likes Wilby. And Wilby wants his $7. $7. I should have gotten that clip. $7 from Buzz. He's like, I'm not going to finance your romances anymore, Buzz. Get a job. Buzz is very much like, Eddie Haskell, who needs a sock in the eye. But he's better than Eddie Haskell. Eddie Haskell just needed a beat down. And look, so they go to the museum to talk to old Professor Plumcott, and that is Sekhmet right there, the healer Sekhmet, not the warrior side of her. There's a Sphinx over there, but it's nice to see her there. And there's Lucretia herself. And there's Professor Plumcott. That is Cecil Calloway. And again, we have seen him in I Married a Witch as the witch's father, which such a good movie. I reviewed that early on. I'll try to remember to link it. And Wilby bumps into things, and they have to clean it up. Buzz drops off Allison, and now he's got to get rid of everything. Mice and this tortoise who's got a name. We'll make one up. We'll call it Brock. And and I think he's wearing PF flyers, which I do have this for.
Now on new PF Flyer Adventure, starring Johnny Quest. Something was wrong on the volcano. Race was flashing a message. In danger, bring rope. Johnny flashed back his answer with his PF magic ring. Coming! He ran like the wind. Lucky he was wearing his PF Flyers, the action shoes. Only PFs have the action wedge built right in, so you run your fastest and jump your highest. There was Race.
And Wilby finds this ring from the Borgias. Turns out it's a magic ring, and he starts repeating the word in Canis Corpus Transmuto, corpore, which means, of course, turn into a dog. Turn into a dog. The professor has explained that shapeshifters exchange bodies. So in this movie, in this magic, Wilby doesn't just turn into a dog, he turns into Chiffon because he's the closest by. So Chiffon disappears. We don't know where his mask goes, or Wilby's mask goes, but his brain goes into Chiffon's body. There he is, looking regal. And, it's not the greatest, but it's a comedy, so it doesn't have to be the greatest makeup, especially the nose just looks ridiculous. And suddenly he is completely Chiffon. He's like, So he goes to the museum, walks down there. Apparently, dogs can just wander around in the middle of the night, and the professor's not even surprised. He's like, "I knew you'd be back. I figured you might be a shapeshifter, but you have to do a good deed because the Borgias were evil, as in fruits of the devil." Like, son of a. Oh wait. And so here is our officers, more of our comedy relief. Got Officer Kelly and yeah, more than Officer Johnny Hansen and Officer Kelly. I don't know which is which. But he goes out to get a dime to make a call. He talks, or he brings some coffee, and he talks. Wilby says, "Excuse me." And he's like, "Okay." So Wilby goes home. Little dipstick here. Moochie wakes up and sees the dog get in. But then he's like, "You're a dog." And then he immediately stops calling him his brother and says, "Good boy. I'll help you, boy." Like he's an actual dog. I think I'd have socked old Moochie there for that, because that's just like, I know you want a dog, but you're a little obsessed, you twit. Dim twit. It's like, is there a dog around here? He's hungry, so he sneaks down, eats some food, and then of course, Dad sees the dog and threatens to shoot him with buckshot. And there's a nice sight gag. He fires in town, in the city, and blows holes in all. I'm sure laundry. I'm sure Frida was not happy about that. She knew something was going on, and it won't be long. It won't be long until she's gone. But so he runs back over there, and Francesca is happy to see him. Uh-oh, what's this? Dun, dun, dun. Somebody's meeting the butler, Stefano. And Wilby's been locked up, or Chiffon Wilby has been locked up, gets out, he returns to himself. So it's just random how these transformations, no full moon needed. He gets out with a screwdriver. Stefano sees the dog with the screwdriver, and he's like, Moochie has a collar for his brother. Why, I ought to sock you a good one. There's a dance coming up. The dance is what could have been cut. We're going to zip through that. But that's a very funny line Frida says. And she's not wrong. So now we have the old, I've invited 2 girls to the dance, and I need you to be part of it, from Buzz. Boy, you thought that was old by that when the Bradys were doing it some 10 years later, when Greg Brady was doing it 10 years later. And he looks nice. But Buzz is a kind of a sleaze here. And he feeds both of them a line. But they like dancing with Wilby. And there's the swinging band. And it's a couple's ladies' choice. So they keep swapping partners. Moochie's just eating a pound of cake. And they're like, "Oh, he looks good dancing with everybody." Uh-oh. And the curse has taken over. I do like Kevin as an actor. His Moochie is annoying, but not the worst. And he's again, the cast is great. I mean, if it's a Disney movie, they're not going to have bad actors. I met Tommy Kirk. I believe I've said that in probably Village of the Giants. See, there's the really bad dog nose that's just covering his own nose up with makeup. But there he is. He's running around. And Buzz is deciding he doesn't like the dog. The dog is really well trained. Good old Sam creeps along, just does everything he's asked. And now it's time for station identification. You are watching Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters on KXNO, part of the Zenorama Broadcasting Network. We now return you to our regularly scheduled program. Buzz tears off after Chiffon, and he calls him. Chiffon, a.k.a. Wilby, calls Dad and says, "I'm going to be out a little late. I'm going to stay at Buzz's." And, old Moochie knows what's going on. Our bumbling policemen see the dog making a phone call, then it's empty. Again. And the girls are not best pleased with Buzz, and they both leave him cold. But Chiffon's there. Of course, I mean, if your dog doesn't like someone, you shouldn't. And she fixes him up, though. There's Chiffon, who growls at him. He's like, "Well, I've about had it with that darn mutt." And she's just insulted her beloved dog. Although, and he loves on her, and he growled more at home. And then this is apparently her adopted father, and that's why she's in America, because she was supposed to go to school in France. Did you have a good time? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, will you watch Chiffon to make sure he doesn't get out again? Sure. Chiffon goes down the laundry chute. Nice little gag here. And look what Moochie's reading. Uncle Scrooge comics. That's probably worth a fortune. Look at the size of that book. Somebody might be able to tell from that much alone what issue it was. I cannot, but it was 15 cents. That would be in a giant size book. How to Train a Dog. Here, boy, and he calls his brother Boy doesn't even call him Wilby. Something about Section 32. Oh, gotta go to the cops. Dad, you gotta listen to me. Okay. Dad doesn't listen to him. So he's like, all right, shock treatment. Gimme shock treatment. I want a shock treatment. Or, you need a little bit of shock treatment. It'll keep you jumping like a real live wire. I'm going to review that movie. Anyway, there he's talking to it. He says, shake on it, Dad. Because he says, I'll love you no matter what. Dad faints. They run outside. They go to the cops. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. They tell him that Wilby's in a costume, but he can't take it off because he's got no clothes on. Good old, what did I say his name was? Stefano shows up, grabs the dog. Like, come on, Dad, we got to help Wilby. And then suddenly, Wilson believes him. Off he goes. They go to the FBI. Security agent E.P. Hackett is played by Ned Weaver. And he's telling them the story. They think he's nuts. So they take him to this man, Dr. J.W. Galvin, psychiatrist. And do you know who that is? Oh, well, we'll find out in just a moment. Now, Wilby's over here, and these two plot against the United States of America. They're enemy agents. So here's our third. We've got teens. We've got a little magic. Now we've got espionage. And then he turns back into Wilby, who promptly gets caught and threatened. But he knows what's going on. But, okay, now back to the psychiatrist, and it is Paul Frees in an uncredited role with a voice we can kind of recognize, but he's so good. Again, I mean, he's J.W. Galvin. Who knows what J.W. stands for? But he might be in on the plot, too. Moochie throws his dad under the bus. They let him go home. And this is, the line they say that and this was a kind of a dig at Teenage Werewolf, but not too bad, since that made a lot of money, too. And they're all about making money. Francesca finds out that they're the villains. And then he's trying to get away, but he turns back into the chiffon and wipes out Buzz again. Then he steals Buzz's car, which leads to some fun moments. Dad gets home. They've taken her hostage. And yeah, but that's obviously not the real dog, but it works well enough. He's turning left. Oops. Car races it in. And there is our Captain Scanium. That's Gordon Jones, the first cinematic Green Hornet. And he's thinking that these two have gone rogue. Sends other officers to chase him. They pull over the dog. He frisks him. He says, well, he could be. They yell. I think he bites him. And then he takes the police car. And they're like, so these two are chasing the cops in the hot rod. And old Scanlon. Scanlon. I know that name from somewhere else. They're all yelling at each other, but they believe him. Wilby jumps on the boat. They take him down. There's a fight breaking out. Francesca gets knocked in the water, so Wilby rescues her. Of course, Buzz tries to take credit. They call for the Coast Guard to get the spies. See, this is when Buzz tries to take credit, and Wilby's had enough of this. He jumps him. Another fight breaks out, and they corral him. But fortunately, they get this. Everyone's okay. Wilby changes back to himself, and Chiffon is there. Chiffon's soaking wet. This little, doesn't make any sense, but it's all right. These two are like, what? And so then we get a montage of this, and now Wilson likes dogs again. And Francesca's going back to Paris because her evil stepfather, her guardian, has been arrested. And she's left Chiffon in the care of Wilby and Moochie. And they're like, would you look at that? But Moochie's happy. They see Allison there with a date, and she calls them some young boys that she knows from local boys. Burn, because they were kind of dorks. So now they're buddies again because they've got. I wonder if Wilby ever got his $7 back. The medal is for Chiffon. Everyone's happy, especially Moochie. And that is The Living End. Again, I saw this on a big screen. Well, not a big screen, projected onto the wall in like 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. They did that every summer at the end of the year, showed us a movie. Probably 4th grade. And I was at the right age to really enjoy this. All the kids laughed. We were more innocent back then. I give it 5.5 stars, 5.5 Xenocubes out of 7, because it's just fun. It's innocent and corny and silly, and it moves along. I took away a half a cube because of the length, because they could have cut out the whole thing the whole dance thing did not need to be in there. That would have saved 15 minutes, but I'm sure that they wanted to get rid of the kids for an hour that summer, or 2 hours that summer, because we're all wound up after playing games and probably had to sing. But you know what to do if you're leaving. Just say goodnight this time. All right, my fellow agents, tomorrow we will be reviewing issue 5 of Sentai. It's the full color issue, all color. And it features all the nonsense from America that they've been doing. Gridman and Mataldar and whatever Sheriff VR Troopers was cut from. And it talks about the first really in-depth Spider-Man article. They're not wrong about the show. I wish they were. But until that next assignment, this is X7 signing off and phasing out. And remember, don't repeat incantations on magic rings. Just ask Frodo or Bilbo. It's never a good idea. Be seeing you.
Check it out. Channel 11's got this cool new show called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. It's about these dudes who get sucked into computers and turn into superheroes. It's pretty cool and stuff, but they gotta fight this major bad guy named Kulakon. Plus, Kulakon cheats because he's got help on the outside from this evil computer geek Malcolm. Malcolm makes these mega computer monsters that could squash the squad, and maybe even the world. The battle continues, weekdays at 5 only on Channel 11.